Struggles.
Innovation.
Going all in.
Not holding back.
Mindset.
Being a leader.
Paving their own way.
Putting the real in real estate.
Listing legacies. Selling luxury. You have The Vault.
Unlocking conversations in real estate today.
We are live with The Vault. I'm Jess, and this is my co-host, Alexa Miller. Alexa, who do we have the privilege of interviewing today?
I'm very excited to welcome Lianne Timber-Sharp. She's a member of our team. Lianne is an experienced real estate agent, occupational therapist, triathlete, and outdoor enthusiast, originally from the Niagara region. She now spends her time exploring the Bruce Peninsula with her family and selling the Lake Huron lifestyle. So welcome, Lianne.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So as Alexa was saying, I'm originally from Niagara and have spent the majority of my life in a small town called Grimsby. I've been an occupational therapist for almost 30 years and was doing home care in the Hamilton area for just over 20 years until I decided that I needed to make a bit of a shift in my life and got into real estate. I have 2 adult children and 2 adult stepchildren and 2 step grandbabies and a 3rd step grandbaby on the way.
Aw, congrats.
So lots of good family time. And I love to do outdoor activities. I love hiking. I've been a triathlete for a long time and come from a fitness background. I also have experience in Pilates and as a fitness instructor, and do a lot of health and wellness coaching and training and that sort of thing, and still practice occupational therapy part-time on a consulting basis, and have had the luxury of being able to do that now up on the Bruce too. So yeah, I've been up here for on and off for 4 years. We bought a property and did a build and decided that I needed to move my life up here full-time so I can enjoy the lifestyle all the time.
Yeah, it's a nice lifestyle.
Yeah.
So are you still traveling back and forth now a little bit?
I am. So we just sold a house that we had in Smithville and purchased a small condo in Stony Creek so that we would still have a home base back there. My husband still works pretty much full time in the area. So we still are there, and we have family, our parents and children are all kind of down there. So I am back and forth a bit and still doing some real estate down that way.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You're busy.
Yeah.
How has that been, doing business in 2 different areas?
Yeah.
It can be challenging at times. I have a couple of great colleagues who help me out down there, and a great team up here that help too. So that does eliminate some of the travel. And I have a good clientele base down there who kind of understand and get it. And what's interesting is it's actually allowed me to market the cottage lifestyle up on the Bruce to my kind of city buyers, who are now giving it consideration when they've seen that lifestyle change that we've made. And
right.
So it's been a good blend, and it's okay.
I like how you say blend, because it is nice knowing 2 different areas.
For sure.
And then marketing both of them.
Yeah. And it's a different pace market down there, so I kind of keep my finger on that to see what's happening, and just kind of watching, and again encouraging people to consider their lifestyle changes. A lot of people looking at retiring and needing to get out of the hustle and bustle there. But interestingly, I have some clients up here who are looking at vacation properties in the Niagara region because they want to be closer to wine country, or have that opportunity to go down there for the weekend.
So what would you say is the biggest difference between those 2 markets?
The competition right now, again, has picked up down there. Right. So we're seeing a lot of multiple offers. Inventory is dropping again.
That's good, because sometimes it's a trickle our way.
Yes, yeah. So hopefully we see that here as well. And again, I think people just trying to escape the city, but still be within commuting distance. So coming out Niagara region, which offers a great lifestyle too.
Yeah.
Niagara is wonderful.
Yeah.
One of my favorite areas to go to.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, there's so much to do there.
Lots to do. Yeah. Very busy, right? It's becoming very developed. Yeah. tourism and just overall residential development, condo development now along the lake, and the highway can be quite overwhelming.
Right.
So it just depends on what you're looking for.
Right. So are you at your condo often then?
No, fortunately. As little as I have to be. But when I'm there, it's good. It kind of feels like an urban vacation for me now when I go down there.
I love that you get to the lifestyles, because obviously I grew up in the country and I will never leave here, but I love going to the city. So
there's so much more to do sometimes.
It's a good place to go and shop. And go out for dinners,
and food and everything.
And hit the wineries. Awesome. So so now I feel more like a tourist when I go there, and
that's funny.
And a resident here on the Bruce.
You're a local now.
That's awesome.
Cool. So how did you come into real estate? How did you get started, and how long have you been in real estate now?
So I'm just finishing my 7th year. And for me, it was really looking at kind of needing to get out of the career that I was in home care as an occupational therapist. So I went into it in the 90s. Things were really good. And then over time, being a publicly funded program, things really changed in terms of the expectations, the rate of pay. We worked as independent contractors, and they still do. And it just became very stressful. There was a lot of downloading of administrative tasks and no rate increases for us. So I just knew that it wasn't something I could manage mentally for the rest of my life into whatever age I decided to retire. And so I needed kind of an exit strategy, and looking at sort of all the opportunities for occupational therapy other than doing home care or insurance-based work. You're typically in a hospital or potentially a clinic, and for me those opportunities just weren't going to work because I've been used to being out on my own and in the community and kind of setting my own hours to a point and on the go, right? Experiencing different locations all the time. So and I've been in probably a million different homes over 20 some odd years of doing home care. So I just got talking to a couple of different people, and somebody suggested about real estate. So I looked into doing the courses and thought, this is something that I could see would be a really natural fit with what I've been doing my whole life. Took the courses and for 2 years did both full time.
Wow.
Because I wasn't in a position to give up my income. Because as you know, in real estate, it's not always consistent. So I needed to know that I, could build that clientele base and build my business while still having a steady income. So it was a really, really busy time, and I was lucky to have a lot of good support from my husband and my family. And then finally, at the end of 2018, I made the biggest leap of my life to walk away from doing home care.
Right.
So, and stepped full-time into real estate at that point. But kept my OT license, which is something that I would never give up. So now I just do some private consulting, private assessments. I've actually gotten connected with a nursing home in Lion's Head.
Okay.
Help them out a bit too. Yeah. So it's good that way. And it's really been a natural kind of flow from one to the other, because again, I'm just so comfortable being in different houses and seeing different people and always on the go that way. So
well, I definitely think it's real estate is a good fit for you, because I actually thought you've been in it longer than 7 years. I would think like based on just your confidence and hearing you and knowing what you know, I would say like 10 or more for sure.
Not just looking at me.
No. Just based on your knowledge and your experience for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when you made that shift, what was the most trickiest or scariest part of that?
When I made the decision to quit home care, it was giving up that consistent paycheck.
Right.
Yeah. Which wasn't, I wasn't an employee, so it wasn't like I was getting a salary. I still had to make the visits in home care, but I knew that, I could easily do what I needed to do in that job.
Yeah.
In real estate, you're relying on doing all of the lead generation and the marketing and building your base. And then, working with your sphere of influence, but also hoping that they're going to work with you, because that's one of the things I really learned, is that there is not necessarily that commitment from the other side and that loyalty. Right? And that's a big thing.
We've all gone through it.
Yes. Yeah. It's a huge learning curve that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because you say to yourself, well, I've known this person for so long, or this person's a family member, and I don't understand why they wouldn't put their trust in me for this huge thing. And yet certain people just choose to not do that.
So. And it's hard at first to swallow that pill.
It really
was
really
for me
is.
anyway. It still is to this day, but you just move on. But for sure.
Well, I love it, the shift, because we had Katie on earlier as well, and she was talking about shifts like that as well, and coming out the other end realizing everything was okay.
You have to just trust, right? Take a leap of faith. I think if you're focused and you're confident, that it will work out fine.
And it's having that support too.
Absolutely.
Like you were saying.
Absolutely.
Could you imagine if you didn't make that shift?
Where would you be? Exactly.
I wouldn't be here. Not at all.
That's awesome. So tell us, what is your biggest success in your real estate career?
I can't really think of one thing in particular. I think ultimately just still being here 7 years in, and again making a second shift in my career in moving up here, right? So leaving a brokerage I was comfortable with, not leaving my clientele, but that's a leap of faith too, to come up here, right? So
it is. We're chatting with Lisa about that.
So
how did that shift go for you?
It's going fine. It's okay. Again, it was a bit bumpy in the beginning, just because we had a lot of kind of personal things happening at the same time, and we've moved again back home, and my husband's not up here full time, and so it's a growing experience that takes time, right? And so I couldn't expect to basically come up here and have the same level of clientele and business base that I had back there. So knowing that, you pick away at it, right? And you just have to give it time and let it grow. And
I think that's important for any viewers listening is, if you're thinking about switching for brokerage or going independent team or opposite, is it takes time. And don't expect to, jump in and you're going to be doing 50, 60 units. Mindful, some people do, although it's having realistic expectations too. That's within yourself. We're going to just, work yourself crazy.
That's right.
So it's having that, realistic expectations.
And knowing you have to work hard.
If you have the actions.
And you obviously do.
The biggest thing for me is balance, because as you know, this job can eat you up, and you can work 24/7 and never see a return, and that's not healthy, right? So, and I'm not at a stage in my life where I want to do that,
right?
So balance is really the key, and knowing when to put the boundaries and the limits on, and what our capabilities are, and really at the end of the day, what do we need in terms of income and business growth? Right.
I think it's functional and internal. Your functional is, what's my lifestyle? When you break it down per units, and then that's what we need to live off of, and then what's our internal drive? Again, that why. I think Katie talked a lot about standards and boundaries within your business and your lifestyle, in your situation, because everyone is different.
That's right.
Right? Yep. Some of us don't have kids, some of us have 4, some of us have 3, all different ages, living in different, towns. Yep. So everything is, a little bit of everything.
And we're all at different stages in life too, right? So
exactly.
The priorities kind of shift as well, and
So you kind of did touch on this when you were talking about successes, but what would you say is your biggest struggle in real estate?
I think if I look back at the beginning, the biggest struggle was really accepting that lack of loyalty by people who I thought would be very loyal, and not taking it personally. I can remember a lot of tears in the first year or two, and a lot of sleepless nights, and then one of my colleagues back at the first brokerage I was at, she said to me, the best thing you can do is be a duck. And I was like, be a duck? What are you talking about? She goes, just let the water roll off your back like a duck.
Oh, I love that.
And those were the best words that I've ever heard in the 7 years I've been in this business.
Letting it go.
And I say that to myself a lot now, and it's so much easier, right? And again, I think once you're more established, it's easier to let stuff go. From the financial perspective. You don't need it as much, right? And you know that there's another client or another deal or whatever around the corner. But in the beginning, that is really, really...
it is hard to swallow because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
You're thinking, I'm giving my all, my heart and everything. And why wouldn't you want that?
And and especially when you're a good, honest person, right? And when you can see others perhaps in the profession who maybe aren't quite that way, and you question why people are making choices the way they are, when you know that you're going to do the best job you can for that person, and that perhaps the decision they've made isn't going to get them that same return, right? So
I agree. I think it's a really good point too, because I know Alexa and Adam went down to this one training. Adam brought home one of his takeaways was those people will always have cheerleaders, and whether or not we agree with it, they will always have that sometimes. And it is hard to swallow, right? Being in this business, it is cutthroat sometimes.
Absolutely.
So
and at the beginning it's hard because you're just starting out, and I can't speak for everyone, but I know that when my family or friends start endeavors, I'm their number one cheerleader. I'm supporting them. So when they don't reciprocate that, it's hard. It's very hard. Now that I'm 4 years in, I don't give a crap. If you don't want to use me, that's fine. Like,
exactly.
I don't care.
Absolutely.
You will one day. You'll want me, and I'll probably be too busy to deal with you. Sorry.
Or when your house doesn't sell with the other agent you chose, and then you're knocking on my door.
Exactly.
That always feels good.
And it's funny because every time I see someone who doesn't use me, whether it's a family or a friend or whoever, they're always asking me about real estate. They're asking my opinion, what about their deal or whatever. Well, I can't talk to you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So they want your opinion, but for whatever reason, and it could be that they have someone in their corner that they had before you even started, and you have to think about that too. But it's still hard.
Yep.
So
it's hard. Yeah. And I think it's, having that confidence inside and not worrying about it, being the duck.
Yeah.
Letting go of just let it all roll. Or what does Terry say? Go sell real estate.
Yeah, that's right. Go sell real estate. That's right. We all have to get like a duck tattoo.
Yeah. We should. Yeah.
Let it roll.
The KW duck. That's awesome. And always a fun question. What would you tell your past self just starting in real estate?
I thought about this actually last night, and I thought, would I tell my past self to not do it?
We've all been there.
Part of me might.
Yeah.
Part of me always thought that I wish I had done this a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Right?
I hear that a lot too, actually.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but then I really think that, had I have done it sooner, I wouldn't have had the same experiences in my own buying and selling of real estate, and my own, occupational therapy career and personal growth and all of that. So I think really, again, just to understand the work involved and setting the boundaries. One of the things I really never wrapped my head around was the level of marketing that is required. I feel like we all need to have a PhD in marketing to be real estate agents.
To keep up with everything.
Yeah, I know. So I might have told myself that.
No, that's great advice.
It is really good advice. Yeah. Any new people out there getting into real estate, marketing has to be on, your agenda.
It comes out of your pocket before you get paid.
And that,
and especially
burdens,
absolutely. And in a shift market, we have to market more because our inventory is sitting, which is what we're finding right now.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not on top of lead generating 3 times more than what we're normally doing.
Yeah.
Right? It's harder. It's funny because in different shifts, it's a different system.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, and you have to keep growing and learning in marketing and
everything,
digital world and all that.
Yeah. And that's tough too, and especially when you're maybe a little bit older, right, and not so experienced in that area. to kind of dive into all that social media, or if you're not a big fan of it, which in my life I'm not, right? I only have the channels because I have to,
right?
So
I think we do need to be out there in some aspect, and I think you're doing great at what you're doing.
Thank you.
You have.
Trying the videos.
Yeah. Well, you're very good on your
gosh,
videos.
very natural.
Your listing videos, you rock them.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yep. Yeah, I have. I think they're great.
I haven't.
Oh.
Do you have any future goals in real estate?
Not really. So that's a funny thing for me. I'm not a huge goal setter, which I know kind of goes a little bit against the real estate mentality. I like to just kind of let it go and flow, and probably because I'm doing fine, right? Because I find sometimes, when I don't personally always love the pressure that setting those goals can give you, and then it does set you up for a sense of failure as well as a sense of accomplishment. So I just really say whatever. Right? Whatever. Ultimately, my goal is to be selling up here full time and kind of passing on my Niagara business to my, colleagues through referral base, but and to just let it grow organically into what it is.
Yeah.
And enjoy it always. That would be my biggest goal, to always enjoy it. Because if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't want to do it.
Well, we wouldn't be here doing it.
I love that.
Yeah.
It is really important to say it because it's an interesting perspective, because when we're coached by these high-end producing coaches, goals is goals, numbers, break it down. It gets overwhelming. The amount of sheets Adam and I have to fill out when we do our goal work is it's a lot. And sometimes, too, I check out, well, we're doing fine. We're great. We're happy. Yep. But it depends what your why is again, where you're going with what you want.
Yeah.
And each year is different.
Yep.
Each month is different.
It is.
And we're all different in that way too, right? For some people, they need that goal to have something to work towards, right?
Yeah.
So
and others just are selling to get by.
Yeah.
Pay their bills.
It's knowing your disc too, like your personality profile.
Yeah.
Some, your high Ds are driven by goals. They love it. I check that off.
Yeah. And I'm a goal setter in certain things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, obviously, doing triathlons and like Ironman distance, you can't do that without, that's your goal is to finish that. But in terms of business and real estate, it's just, it's more of an organic thing for me. So.
I think that's great because I think we have different personalities out there being realtors. Yeah. And there is, a piece of pie for everybody based on what you're wanting. You just have to do the action, the work to get it, and it will come.
Yep.
And I love what you said, because real estate is really easy to, it's a career that's takes over like mentally.
Oh yeah.
So having a goal of just enjoying it, and I think that's really cool.
Enjoying the journey.
Yeah. And not letting it get to you, because it can get to you really easily, and it's
well, when we're spending or some of us our whole lives, like you look at some of these top producers, 20-30 years, and they've put the grind in, the behind the scenes that we often don't see.
Right.
I know we see it in our team, but the outside world sometimes they don't.
I don't think the general public has any idea.
There's a misperception.
They just see the big dough at the end, and not,
they don't see the tears and the sweat and the
or our
friends
financial
not buying
output.
Right.
I mean, and that is one thing I think that people have no idea who aren't in this business what the expenses are. So.
It's a lot, especially when our inventory sits like right now. We're still forking it out. That's a good realtor and a good team though. When we have that financial support, no matter what market we're in, that if anyone's looking to join a team, individual or a team, I think that's one of the number one questions you should be asking.
Absolutely. And that's a good point too. So when I was selling real estate in Niagara, I was on my own, right, as an individual at a big brokerage, and never really had the desire to be on a team, never kind of had that in my perspective at all, because I was doing fine, right? And then making that decision to come to an area where I really don't have the connections, that was really important to me to have, to know that I would have that support and the connections I needed, and to not be on my own.
Yeah.
So that was a big shift for me too, actually, to come onto a team, and it's been a great experience that way.
Yeah. I think it's a really important to state that, you know, when you're making that shift and you're coming from individual in a different area, joining a team to an area not too familiar with, and having success in it.
Yeah.
You know, when I interview agents who are kind of figuring out what they want, sometimes they don't know individual or a team. And I always, you know, we go through the pros and cons and all that stuff, but it's a really good point to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that you were doing fine.
Yeah.
You know, and then you still chose to come to a team because you knew that would likely be the best for your career when moving to a whole other area.
Very smart choice.
Definitely.
Like our team aside, thinking functionally in a business.
Yeah.
Very smart choice.
Yeah, it was the only way I could see really doing it and not going crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Because I just, you know, could you imagine?
Kind of be starting over again.
I would totally be starting over again. Yeah. Right. And I thought, no,
I
don't have the energy for that.
Not when you worked as hard as you have.
Different energy levels. Yeah. That's accurate. So what would you recommend to a new realtor just starting?
I think ultimately, well, there's a few things. First of all, you have to understand the financial commitments that you're making, right? It's not just about making money, that you
have to spend some.
You got to spend a lot to really make it work. And sure, most brokerages, you know, pull you in and help you out the first year, but unless you're on a team, you're on your own after that. And so there's that component. I think understanding the time commitments, and, you know, especially if you're a younger agent or you have young children, and guess what? You've got to deal with offers on a listing, and it's Saturday, and you were supposed to be at, you know, your best friend's pool party, or the Super Bowl party, right? I can't tell you the number of deals I've done on Super Bowl Sunday. So, and you're having to explain to your husband or your wife or your partner that, sorry, can't make that family dinner, or I need to bring my laptop. So there's all of those things involved that I think people don't necessarily really understand, and that it's easy to say, oh yeah, I'll be fine with that. But when you're in that moment, sometimes it's very easy to resent the work.
Absolutely.
Right? Or it's a beautiful Sunday, and guess what? Now you're doing an open house. And it's fun in the beginning, but when you're there and 2 people come through, or no one, because that does happen. So there's a lot of ups and downs. I think it's a huge roller coaster, mentally and emotionally, and financially. So you have to be prepared and make sure you have the supports behind you. And probably for a lot of people, joining a team is not a bad idea. In the beginning,
I think so. Well, it's the team, for some teams, takes on that financial aspect for you. And teaches you while you learn.
And just the support, right? I was fortunate when I first started. I was in a very small brokerage, and as much as we were all individuals, we kind of were all a bit of a team. So there was a lot of good support there, not financially, but in terms of just learning and growing. Because it's a huge learning curve too, and you don't learn the ins and outs of writing deals and all of that in the courses.
That's true. Right? They only talk so much theory in forms. So I think what I'm hearing, and I think it's a really good point for viewers, is in real life real estate is how much are we willing to accommodate, sacrifice, you know, because it is that way. And I think that's where we're talking about, is when we're missing the Sunday Super Bowls and some soccer practices, is we're going to miss some of those things at the start. And it's really, you know, trying to find that center of, okay, how much can I miss and how much can I be at, and or starting to learn to leverage that.
That's right.
Really, really good point. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today and sharing all of that with us. If our viewers want to follow along with you, where can we find you?
Well, you can call me.
Perfect.
I am on Facebook. And I have a website, liannesharp.ca.
Perfect.
But yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so much for
Hastings,
coming on.
right?
Right. There you go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was great.